Yo, yo, yo. What up? Good morning. Running a little earlier today. Not feeling so hot. So just making sure I get this sucker in the can. So apologies. Like I said, that this window floats a little bit, but I try to always keep it in the same range. Anyhow, the Indiana Fever lose to the Las Vegas Aces last night. Of course, we'll get into that. The Minnesota Lynx choke really against the Phoenix Mercury. That was the better game. I mean, that was one of the better WNBA games I've seen. All things considered, that was super entertaining. So we'll touch on that as well, and of course, get to your comments, member chats, and super chats. Go first as always. First things first, before we get into what happened with the Fever and the Aces, let me give a shout out to Lexi Hull. Lexi Hustle. Let's call her that. Because Lexi Hull is battling through a bad back in this game, still diving on the floor. She's given it her all season long. And when you look at the core of the Fever, obviously there's the stars. There's Caitlin Clark. There's Kelsey Mitchell. There is Aaliyah Boston. But another member of that core is Lexi Hull, who is indispensable for the things she brings, which is defensive energy, intensity, battling for loose balls, hitting those open threes in key moments, and suiting up with that bad back, with the Indiana infirmary already on the sideline, is worthy of some commending for Lexi Hull, or like I said, Lexi Hustle. Remember that shot of her going after the basketball? There's a photo where she's looking at the basketball like it's a tantalizing dish, and that is the way that she hustles out on the court and competes. So Lexi Hull gets a special shout out off the top. That's before the Fever dropped the game to the Aces and are really wiped off the floor by Las Vegas in this one. There was a lot of talk about the officiating, which we'll get to in a second. But really, I mean, to me, the difference, Las Vegas played with better focus and energy than they did in game one. That is for sure. But beyond that, the Fever, and this is where there's like a line, because I don't want to go too far and overreact to one game when the Fever have split the series in Vegas. And, that's job well done, right? Like, that is something you congratulate the team for. That's something you sign up for going in to come out with the split in Vegas. So it's hard to complain too much about that. But there is some concern. Anytime you get wiped like Indiana did, and then you start to realize, and the attrition hits, because Kelsey Mitchell has been absolutely marvelous, right? No questions asked. Full stop. Marvelous. Unbelievable. So good. But when she's not giving a Herculean effort, and not to say that she didn't give the effort, but when she is not lighting up the scoreboard, the Fever really don't have the firepower. I mean, and basically Becky Hammon dared anybody else on Indiana to beat them last night. Kelsey Mitchell didn't have her typical game. She's been the best player in the playoffs, really. And, there's also, aside from extra defensive attention she's sure to receive, what else there is, regression. Everybody has shooting hot streaks and slumps and the like. So as well as Kelsey has shot the ball in the postseason, you have to have a little bit of natural concern that'll go the other way a little bit. I mean, she's shooting 43.3% from three in the playoffs. Her career is 36.7. So that's in the postseason, her career postseason average. Her career three-point shooting average is 38. So she's a tick above that. She's shooting better from the field in the postseason than she typically does. And she's capable of sustaining it. But when the defense is doing everything they can to get the ball out of her hands and force other players to beat you, there's not really other outlets out there. Lexi Hull, who I just mentioned, stepped up and hit big shots. I mean, she tried to keep them in, and she shot 5 of 11 from three. But beyond that, the Fever were just 7 of 20. Lexi Hull hit 5 threes. The rest of the team hit 2. And that includes one from Odyssey Sims. And Aaliyah Boston, she's battling Asia Wilson, who had a big bounce back game. Leah Boston is battling, but she is not a creator. Aaliyah can create for others, but she doesn't create her own shot all that well. She needs to be fed the basketball, and trying to just force feed the post when there is extra defensive attention can be tough. Not to mention the fact that there's nobody to set her up, spoon feed her the easy baskets like what would happen with Caitlin Clark out there. Caitlin Clark, there's only so much you can do when you got CC and Sophie on the sideline, and you're relying on Odyssey Sims, on Aerial Powers, on Shea Petty. I mean, Aerial Powers only played 7 minutes. Shea Petty did get 17 minutes of burn. That's a player, and Odyssey Sims has filled in admirably. There's no question. With 6 turnovers in this game for her. And she's the backup to the backup to the backup at this juncture. And that's where my concern comes in is when this was going to catch up to the Fever, because where this team has exceeded where I thought they could be. That's kind of, and I still think, they match up fairly well with Las Vegas. They've proven over the course of the season, and they'll be going to Gainbridge. But at the same time, that's sort of the sobering aspect of it to me is I feel like they've done more than I could have ever imagined. So to ask them to continue to do more is tough. But who knows? Definitely not a team to be counted out. And Indiana will go home. They have 2 games at home, so they could theoretically close the series out at Gainbridge. Still in the realm of possibilities. Still in the realm of possibilities that happens. But the odds are in favor of Vegas right now. Las Vegas is a 4.5-point favorite in game 3. I looked it up this morning. And a pretty significant favorite still in the series. Now, there was the officiating aspect of things, and that got called out by both coaches, really. Stephanie White had the comment about the whistles sort of taking the Fever out of the flow. That blew up. Now, just taking that comment in and of itself, it wasn't the only thing she said. She gave the Aces credit for the way that they out-competed the Fever in a sense. Out-physicaled them, all those things. But she did have this to say about the Fever's flow.
I mean, it just really...
Why don't you think you were able to find any flow? And when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul called every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone.
So that was Coach Stephanie White. Becky Hammond on the other side of things talked about the officiating as well. The physicality, which is a buzzword that has been thrown around a lot in the WNBA. But boy, oh boy, is it a physical league. And this is what the Aces head coach had to say, amongst some other comments from Stephanie White. Scott Agnes cut up this video here, but this was Becky Hammond.
The physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put 2 hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control. Most of my assistants come from the NBA and they're like, this would not fly in the NBA. this level of physicality would not fly in the NBA. There'd be fights. There'd be fights. We just have very well-mannered women that can get to the next play, but there would be fights.
I mean, the reality is they came in and they were physical and they dictated, and we were on our heels and we were passive and we were reactive to everything. We 28 points off of turnovers, 14 points off of offensive rebounds. I mean, they're too good. We can't spot them 42. We've got to be able to handle that. I mean, they've been world champions for a reason. They have a mentality that they know exactly how to compete at this stage and at this level. And we've got to be able to respond, and we've got to be able to rise to that challenge.
Feels like a physical game every game. Feels like it's been a physical season. But yes, I think, I feel like I've been on the ground a little bit more this series so far. We just keep getting back up. So that's all I can really say.
Hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively.
WWE NBA, I guess, is what you could call it. And that is one of the shocking things. One of the shocking things, I think, for anybody who kind of joined the WNBA in this explosive burst of popularity is how physical the play is and how much grabbing is allowed, and how much throwing to the ground and to the court is allowed. And it's been a constant theme and almost like a badge of honor in a way that how it's discussed. But it is something to be addressed. I mean, the officiating in the WNBA leaves a lot to be desired. And also, there is that line. I mean, in the NBA, I hate all the foul baiting. It's like, where guys don't even look to score and instead look to draw fouls. But also, you don't want clotheslines and arm bars on the perimeter against your star players. So that's Asia Wilson shoved Lexi Hull to the ground the other day with no foul call. So, I mean, and I'm not saying one team is benefiting over the other. The Asia Wilson relies a lot on getting to the foul line. That's part of her game, but she didn't do it that much in this. Only, and that stars do that. So it's not, we see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, on the NBA side of things. And Asia shot the ball well from the field. Not free throws. That got her 25 points last night. 10 of 18 from the floor. She had a terrific game. She also had 5 steals. I mean, the question is whether the Aces answered the bell and changed the course of this series, and the injuries finally caught up to the Fever, or a desperate Indiana team at home, can they get back control, wrestle back control on Friday night, and then they play again on Sunday in Cambridge. Then there was the other game last night. Get to that quickly too, because really everything had felt like a Lynx coronation to me. That would be the way that I had sort of thought of it, right? Like I'd sort of thought of the Lynx coronation in the way that things had been unfolding, and when they were up by a huge amount in the game. That was, there was a period of time where I just thought, all right, that's it. It's over and done with. The Lynx are going to run away with this entire thing. And that wasn't how it went. Because the Mercury come back in that game, and really one of the better games of the playoffs. But I do think the Lynx kind of choked it away. They kind of choked it away. And that was due to a 5-second violation where they turned the ball over late. They didn't foul when they were up 3. And anytime you're up by as many points as Minnesota was in that game and you lose, I mean, that's kind of on you. What was the halftime score? 27 plus 20, 37, 47, 48 to 33 or 32. I mean, a big lead at half, and they just weren't able to hold it. Because I was starting to wonder, are the Lynx even going to lose a game? And then it unfolded like that. It unfolded like that. So there you have it. That was Sammy Whitcomb, by the way, who was the hero in that game. Whitcomb with the big shot to end it. Here's how it went down. She had a look at it, and then it was an offensive rebound that got her another look at it. This was the first one. Comes up short. You think the Lynx are going to win the game right there, right? But nope. Swings around the horn. Nice movement to get herself free. Big time shot. And then Nafisa Collier missed a little floater, a little fall away on the other end. And it goes to overtime. And that's where the Mercury really took control and seized control of the game, making it 1-1. So both of the series are tied 1-1. Certainly compelling. Certainly compelling. Depends on how you look at it, how you feel about the order of things. So I just got a follow from Sammy Whitcomb. Looks like, I don't know if that's a real account or not. If it is, salute to you. Hell of a shot. Hell of a shot. Hell of a performance. That was a really strong bucket. I mean, it takes a lot of, especially when you miss the first one, to get yourself open and to free yourself like that. Hell of a shot. Hell of a moment for the Phoenix Mercury. And, those two teams are really good teams. And I kind of thought going in that the winner of that series would win the whole thing. We shall see. It remains to be seen. The Aces did win 17 games in a row before all of this went down. And that gets a little forgotten in the midst of it because they haven't been awesome in the postseason. I mean, they were on the brink against the Seattle Storm, and then they lose that game to the Fever. They lose a game to the Storm, and they were, a bucket away from being eliminated by Seattle. Let me get to the comments section. Member chats, super chats go first as always. Kentucky Rick says, good morning, Robin, and all his hoods. Yeah, my name, right? Like, my name has way too many ways to play with it. Hey, Robin, where's Batman? Or, what's the other ones? Rockin' Robin. Tweet. All those different ways people like to mess with you. I got a girl's name. That's the issue. I mean, I don't mind it. A lot of people don't even have don't even like to say Robin. They just say Rob. By the way, my guy Stavros, who I met over at All-Star Weekend, just posted the updated ESPN projections for the Fever. So I'll share those. This and for the whole playoffs, really. But the finals percentage, Vegas now with a 54.2% chance. They only give the Mercury a 21.4% chance to make the finals after that game, despite splitting it. And just an 11% chance for the Fever to win the title. 18 for Vegas. 60. I mean, the heavy favorites remain the Minnesota Lynx, though it went down a little bit after last night. Just a touch. But those numbers, the metrics, still favoring Minnesota. Member chats, super chats go first. Ben Lamprick says, When a coach says we're literally fouling with how physical it is and what's allowed, it's a problem. Well, I remember Paige Becker said this earlier in the year, which was a bit of a telling comment. She said that she has to learn to play while fouling, which is a telling comment, right? To learn to play while fouling. That's what Paige had to say. And that's the nature of the WNBA. Learn to play while fouling. But the physicality, it's something else in the W. It's definitely something else. See what we got in the chat here. Yeah, Ryan said that he relayed that on one of the broadcasts. I forget which game it was, but it was earlier in the season with Paige. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Caitlin Clark possibly being healed and coming back. It's not happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening. We'd all like to see that, of course. Look, I'll be real with you. When it was announced, when Caitlin Clark said that she wasn't coming back this season, there was, some air taken out of the room. Where the everybody had sort of had that hope. And I had that hope. And that hope was squashed. And Caitlin, with this team, who's to say what they couldn't do? Who's to say what they, look, the fever is still there too. So it's this weird, it's hard to properly express it because you don't want to crap on what they're doing right now. And by the way, the fever are still drawing a big audience. It was 1.4 million, I think, for the game over the weekend. So they're still, all these numbers are like the second most ever, right? The second most ever first round WNBA playoffs. That's what ESPN was touting, the second most watched ever, behind last year. But there was a certain energy out. And even in that point when it felt like we were strung along a little bit, and I'm not even saying anybody did that deliberately, but where like that was the feeling, right? There was always that idea. Okay, she's coming back. She's coming when she gets back. Can't wait till she gets back. The tease when she gets back. When it was said she wasn't coming back, that was a blow. From both the basketball standpoint and of course, the overall energy. Now, I think some of that's been recaptured because the playoffs have been great. And that's the benefit of what's happened in the last year and change is that so many of the fans who came along, maybe solely because of Caitlin Clark, have stuck around because they've garnered an attachment and an interest and all of that. Right? Like this is that's that trickle down effect that you talk about, or the rising tide lifting all boats. And now, you have people who are way into the Lynx and Mercury where there's no association with Caitlin Clark. But I get the natural urge because more time has passed. And I would certainly hope Clark is all the way healed, if not, at this point. But the point is she hasn't been in practice and she wasn't listed on the active roster. So she can't participate. She can't participate. And that's the reality of the situation. That is the reality of the situation. And, at this point, she's wouldn't be ready regardless. Joe Lala says, just join you. The coaches were so mad. Yeah, sorry. I ran it a little earlier today because I'm not feeling great. So I figured it was just better to hit go live than wait longer. By the way, pending whether I'll do another live show this week, we will see. We do gotta schedule another members only chat that is due, and at the same time, I was generally gonna not necessarily run on Fridays, but pending on tomorrow as well because of some other stuff I got going on. So just a heads up, we'll see what happens. I'm doing my best to be with you as consistently as I can. Kentucky Rick says Melissa Smith is performing extremely well at Las Vegas, and I think it has a lot to do with Asia taking her under her wing. Well, look, give Becky Hammon some credit as well. Becky Hammon is a championship-winning coach, is a coach with NBA experience. And, Dana Evans, I think, was a good pivot from Hammon, the way she's played her in this series. So you got to give credit where it's due on the other side of things. Kelsey, the bailout queen, is not not too optimistic. Last night was a winning formula to defeat us. We don't have an answer for them playing team ball inside and out. We're done. Well, Kelsey's bailed out the Fever on a lot of occasions this year. That's for sure. And the issue there is, there's only so much you can ask for one player. And when the other team is able to, allocate extra resources in her way, because if you're Vegas, who are you worried about beating you? Who are you worried about beating you? Outside of Kelsey Mitchell. Because I don't think Aaliyah Boston's going to beat you on the scoreboard. Right? Like by putting up 30-something points. That's just not her game. Aaliyah is a terrific player, and she's had a terrific season and a terrific playoffs and all those things. But she simply doesn't get enough shot attempts. It's too hard to get her enough shot attempts. She doesn't create her own shot from the perimeter. I mean, she had 13 boards in this game. But she's not going to be able to carry the load offensively. It's just not her game. Without you, force feeding her the ball, and that gets too easy to stop. So she's not beating you. If you're sending extra help to Kelsey and you're forcing the ball out of Kelsey's hands, Aaliyah's not beating you on those rotations when you're spraying the ball around the perimeter. Odyssey Sims is aggressive, but again, you're talking about a player who wasn't on a team up until a couple weeks ago. Natasha Howard's not beating you from the perimeter. Lexi Hull hit 5 threes. She was 5 of 11 from 3. And they were able to withstand that. T Smiles Fever, 22-point loss, 22 turnovers, and Aces 22 assists. Irony. Oh, man. There's a Jay-Z song from his first album, 22 Twos. That's obviously the CC connection there, which I get. But yeah, that is a lot of turnovers for the Fever. I want to show you something. Because there was I was looking this up last night. If you look at the playoffs for on-off court data. Now, a couple of these names you're going to want to ignore because they just haven't been on the floor enough for it to be of import. But so Bree Hall hasn't played enough minutes. Ignore that one. Michaela Timpson, same thing. Ignore her stats here. It's just not enough of a, when you're only on the court for as many minutes as they've been. I mean, look at the on-off differential for Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, she hadn't been off that much, but the difference in her on-off is unbelievable. I mean, it lines up with what you see with your eyes, but it's still staggering when you look at it. And then go down and you see Lexi Hull, who that's a big number as well. And Natasha Howard and Bree Turner in the positive. Barely, but they're in the positive. So those are, the players who have been pretty reliable. And obviously, like I said, Lexi's a part of the core. Then you start to get to the other players. And the Aaliyah number is interesting because I wouldn't expect her to be that much in the negative when it comes to on-off court. I mean, I would look at that as more of an anomaly. But you look at Aerial Powers and Odyssey Sims, and, those are players who were picked up on hardship contracts. And I'm not blaming the refs either, guys. I mean, I know some people, I don't think the refs cost the Fever the game. Both coaches complained about the refs and the officiating. As Joe Lala said, where's her comment? The coaches were so mad. Both coaches were upset. So I don't know. We shall see. We shall see how the Fever bounce back. It's like they need, if they don't get 30 plus from Kelsey, it's tough. They don't get 30 plus from Kelsey, it's tough. And ultimately that's an issue. It's why, the people who are even trying to brag about how, the Fever are doing this without Caitlin or whatever, they all know the real truth of the matter. No one can say that with an actual straight face, and believe it. They're just trying to get under people's skin or push their agenda and whatnot. But when the Lexi Hull news came out before the game, I got concerned with the back, and she played through it and played great, but backs don't generally get better as you play playoff minutes. So we shall see what happens in game 3. Then there's the Mercury. And, the Sandy Brondello news, I was lucky that broke before I was live yesterday. So I got to cover that. So I felt like I'd be redundant talking about that again today. But that's about all I have, guys. Any member chats, super chats, get them in now. Like, subscribe, all those things. I'll get to a few more chats and comments before I get out of here today. Like I said, I wasn't not feeling great, so doing my best to power through. Is the energy sapped out, or do you still believe? I suppose that's the question. Women's college basketball, like I start seeing the news around that. With you have Kim Mulkey and talking about Mylasia for Wiley yesterday. It's crazy how the calendar turns and seasons change. Still a few weeks left in the WNBA season, one way or the other, obviously. And 4 teams remaining with 2 series tied up at 1 apiece. All right. Any more member chats, super chats? Get them in right now. I'll put this up because I've seen a similar sentiment. Powers has to step up. She's been inefficient in the playoffs. She's just not that good. You know, like, again, this is the reality the Fever are facing, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. But, you know, there's only so much you can expect from players who are brought in under the circumstances that she was. I mean, and Ariel Powers has this like energy she plays with, it seems like, but it's not always so focused. And that's, you know, part of the problem that the Fever are facing. It's like, how much juice can you squeeze out of the orange? She's just shooting, by the way, 21% in the playoffs is Powers in 12.8 minutes. Brett Atwood says 6-man in the stands can help bring home these wins. We shall see. I'm looking at the odds. Again, Vegas is a 4.5-point favorite, even in Indy on Friday. Minnesota's a 4.5-point favorite in Phoenix. Joe says AP is not that good. She's a nice person, but she's listening. You mean she is listening or isn't listening to the coaches? Look, I mean, Ariel Powers had a bit of a riff with Cheryl Reeve, which isn't a great, not listening, she says. Not a great indicator, right? Cheryl Reeve's an all-time great coach. You don't have to love her, but it's not the best thing. Kentucky Rich says, Sue, head of the WNBA referee and performance team, that's where questions on officiating should be pointed. The refs don't answer to owners, coaches, players, definitely not the fans. Yeah, I mean, look, at the referee thing is a WNBA issue, not an Indiana Fever issue. I mean, with so much of it got put into focus with Caitlin Clark, because you're just not used to seeing a star player, the star player, as Sophie Cunningham correctly put it, roughed up like that. But it's a theme across the league. Ben says, appreciate Powers' passion and energy, but it's not a focused energy. Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes, you know, it's that the players that, you know, they look like they're trying so hard, but it's not always resulting in anything. And that's the case with Ariel Powers a lot of times. Like, where it looks like she's doing something, but she's really not. And she can be out of position at the same time. And again, I mean, it's not her fault either. I'm not dissing her. That's the nature of being this deep into the roster. Where, I mean, Odyssey Sims is starting, so Clark had to go down. Colson had to go down. McDonald had to go down before Sims was brought in. That's 3 point guards. And she's made some big plays. You know, no question. That shot she hit against, was the Sparks, right? Like, she's made some big plays. But that's just the reality, is she was not on a team until they were down that many players. Same goes for Ariel Powers. You know, Sophie had to go down after all those other players went down, which necessitated that pickup. I mean, Bree Hall has to come in after Chloe Bibby goes down. Bendy says, I don't think the refs determined that game, but oof, it definitely feels like they're both not protecting players and making the overall product less fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that likes it to an extent, and I don't know where the line is exactly, but the WNBA has clearly crossed the line as far as the amount of contact that's allowed without calls. Ben says, my prediction series will go 5. As you've stated, it really is all about whether Kelsey can keep going off for 25 plus points. But, I mean, that's a tall task to ask. I didn't even mean to rhyme that. Definitely, difficult and hard to sustain for Kelsey Mitchell or anyone else. Thank you, Kayla. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. That will do it for today. Remains to be seen on tomorrow. Like I said, just a heads up in the event that I'm not here. That would be the reason why. Got some stuff going on and the like, so I don't want to just not give you a heads up, because I do appreciate all of y'all joining me when you all do. And we will talk again soon. One way or the other. Right? I'll give you another minute or two if there's any super chats or member chats you want to get in. Jay Ali says we are winning. Do people have, let me ask, do you have the belief? Thumbs up or down on the Indiana Fever? Get those in. You don't have to be a member chat or a super chat. I'll get a bunch of those. That's how we'll end. A flurry on the screen. So drop those in the comment section real quick. And I'll see what people say. Thank you, Kentucky Rick. Appreciate that. Do the Fever win or not? Do you still have belief in the Indiana Fever? Thumbs up from Ollie D. Thumbs up from Mr. Thibodeau. Thumbs up from Kentucky Rick. Ronald says he believes. You gives a thumbs up. Kevin Zwicker, thumbs down. Sill says confident. Fever split the home games. Connie says they can do it. They will never give up. There you go. That's a good way to sign off. Until the next one, yeet.